an ag economist, a graduate from Oklahoma State, who is really, really a sharp, sharp young man, Gelson Tembo. So I went down and visited, and we put a proposal together on looking at the value chains in pulses, because that is what this particular grant was focused on. But you have to notice that nobody in Zambia grows pulses alone. As a matter of fact, it's a very small crop in Zambia. The main staple in Zambia is corn. The crop that we were using, this legumes and pulses, is actually a very small component. And it's actually grown in very small parts of of Zambia. It's grown in the north part. They grow mixed beans in the northern region. So our purpose was, number one, to understand uh, what farmers were doing and how they were participating. How much were they producing, what were they selling, how much were they selling, what prices were they getting, and then we also wanted to know the characteristics of these farmers who were actually participating in the market. So, how long were they? I mean, how long in terms of distance were they from markets? Did they have paved roads? Stuff like that. Because we wanted to know whether having these infrastructures in place actually helped to create these market participation initiative. Uh, and then we focused on also understanding the downstream market. So who is buying product from these farmers? Processors, traders, government institutions like schools, prisons, the army, police, all that stuff. So we collected a lot of data so that we can understand these things, and then we can develop the right solutions to the problems, which is not different from what we do here in Kansas. We collect data from our farmers, understand what the challenges are through that data, analyze them, and then we can bring solutions to how our farmers solve these problems. So we're just taking the work that we do here, the knowledge that we've developed in understanding how agriculture production and agricultural markets work, and partnering with USAID to help African farmers to improve their incomes and reduce poverty in these areas. And then the second part was what we called implementation of new governance systems. How do we get these traders to reduce their cost of operations? And the way we thought about that was, after we estimated the cost of these traders traveling into the rural areas, spending 2 weeks running from one farm to the other looking for grain that they will bring into the cities to sell, which is very different from what we do here, because our farmers will harvest, drive the truck to an elevator and dump it, and they're done. I mean, you don't have elevators running around the country looking for grain. So there's a huge cost for these traders. So being economic beings, they discount the prices they pay for the grain, because it's going to cost them, let's say it costs them 10 cents per bushel to find the grain and then bring it back to the city. They're going to take that off the price they are paying the farmer. Okay, so our objective was to help the farmers get better prices. And instead of demonizing the traders, which is what a lot of the policymakers look at, they call them middlemen, and they are bad and they cheat and all that. We came at it from an economic perspective and said there is cost that these people incur. So if they are paying a lower price for the grain, it's not because they are bad. All they are doing is they are recouping their search cost, their transportation cost, their negotiation cost, all the costs that they incur. So our objective was, how do we reduce their cost? And because their cost goes down, they can afford to pay the farmers a higher price than they were paying before. And so we decided to test that after we finished the analysis. We decided to test this hypothesis. Can we reduce the cost? And because the cost goes down, they can pay higher prices. So we got about a dozen traders together to do the pilot, and the result was fantastic. So we brought them together and then organized them such that uh, we knew that for each travel that they did for the 2 weeks, it probably cost them 3 bags of 75 kg bags of beans, right? So if they didn't go and gave the money to the one person, it means that each of them could get an extra 3 bags of beans to sell. So that immediately created value to them, and they loved it, you know. And we collected the data from the change and all the stuff and measured their profits, and lo and behold, it was very, very lucrative. In this way, they still have the same relationships, you know. All we are doing is we are helping them to think a little differently. For example, we've shown these farmers, and actually we didn't even do it. They told us. They said, "Look, I make more money growing beans than growing corn, but I don't have a market for beans. I have a market for corn, so I grow more corn, right?" And we said, "Okay, if we can get that problem solved, they're going to grow more beans. They'll make a lot more money." But I think what we are doing that I really like is the fact that we are doing what I call sustainable development, starting from where people are, giving them tools and knowledge that allow them to do what they have to do instead of depend on us. Because if you teach a man or a woman or a child how to fish, you never have to give them a fish again. They will figure out how to catch their own fish. And so that's the system that we are bringing. Give them the knowledge, which is very clearly supported by good research, and then let them take it and run with it. And then you don't have to be there for life, and you don't have to worry about going back, because if you look at the Green Revolution, we went in 1960, did it, and then we left, and then we came back, and they were exactly where they were, so we started again. And so this one is knowledge focused, but the knowledge is not just things that we are making up. We are studying what the issues are on the ground, understanding how they do business, and then modifying how they do that business so that it's not foreign to how they do business. When I take a small African farmer who is living on $1.25 a day, and all of a sudden we put systems in place that they are making $3, that is life changing. That is life changing, because now they can pay school fees. They can buy that medicine that they needed. It's fantastic. I mean, it's really exciting actually watching the results. So if you want to learn more about these programs that I've been talking about that we are doing in Zambia, on the value chain research that we are doing, you might want to visit our website at valuechains.kstate.edu.